All right, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm Kyle Pardo, the Executive Vice President at EMHR Solutions, and we are really excited to bring you this program today to provide you with updated information on the Massachusetts Workforce Training Grants and expanded access. So this is great news for employers, and we want to make sure that we give you all the information, what the grants are, how to apply, what you can do with the grant money, all sorts of good things. So we're glad that you joined us today. I am joined by Rob Duncan, who's the Workforce Training Fund Program Director at Commonwealth Corps. Welcome, Rob. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
And also Rachel Gillis, who is the Senior Marketing and Grant Coordinator at EMHR Solutions. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, good morning.
Wanted to let everybody know that we welcome questions. We will have the first part of the presentation this morning. We'll share information with you, but then we welcome your questions and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. If we can't get to your questions, we will reach out to you and try to connect with you after the program today. So please go ahead and type any questions that you have into the chat. We also will be recording this session, so that if you need to share it with a colleague, you're welcome to do that, and you will be getting a follow-up email after today's session with that information. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Rob.
Great. Thanks, Kyle. Good morning, and thanks everyone for your time. Rob Duncan, I'm from Commonwealth Corporation. We're a quasi-public state agency under the Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development. And we do workforce development programming throughout the Commonwealth in a few different areas. My neck of the woods is about training and upskilling the current workforce of Massachusetts. Next slide. The Workforce Training Fund program is a primary tool for incumbent worker training grants in Massachusetts. We're focused on strengthening the Commonwealth businesses by upskilling our workforce. We're invested heavily in serving all sorts of businesses with a major focus on small businesses. Altogether, we served 1,600 different employers last year. 84% of them had 50 or fewer employees. And each year we're going to award about $25 million in grants. Next slide. These grants go to employers for employee skills training delivered by training providers of their choice. Grants range from a few $100s to $200,000, and there is a wide variety of subject matter that could be covered, virtually everything under the sun that has to do with work skills. We see lots of grants and everything from project management to IT. ESOL is a big priority. We're seeing a lot of growth in AI training, you name it. Next slide. In order to participate, an employer must be compliant with all their state obligations. They're going to have to provide to us a certificate from the Department of Unemployment Assistance and one from the Department of Revenue and a W-9 form. These grants are limited to training W-2 employees working in Massachusetts, no temps or contractors or out-of-state employees. And employees must be paid their regular wage during training time. Training is on company time. There are more guidelines that I encourage you to spend some time with on our website, but this is the kind of key points. Next slide. Only employers who contribute to the Workforce Training Fund are able to apply. This happens by way of unemployment insurance payments. All for-profit employers in Massachusetts that are current with their obligations are contributing to the fund and are eligible to apply. And many nonprofits are as well. Nonprofits who make regular quarterly UI payments are contributing to the fund. Most are doing so, but some larger nonprofit organizations, usually hospitals and universities, are self-employed and they're paying a discounted rate. And so they're not contributing to the Workforce Training Fund and not eligible. Generally, most nonprofits are eligible except for the very large ones. Also, this is only for private employers, no government. Next slide. One of the reasons that we're here today to talk is to announce some recent changes. Managing the workforce training fund is a bit of a balancing act between uh, limited resources and being responsive to circumstances and ensuring that as many organizations and workers can participate as possible. In the last few years, in 2023 and 2024, there were some new policies created to right-size spending in response to record levels of participation and finite resources. And presently, circumstances make it possible to roll back a couple key limitations that were implemented in past years, and we're able to do so now without exhausting funding. So this fine tuning should really result in maximizing participation while maintaining year-round access. And effective back on April 1st, no April Fool's Day joke. We increased the express reimbursement rate from 50% to 100% for organizations with 51 to 100 employees. We also increased the maximum general program grant from 125,000 to 200,000, and we're now allowing organizations to simultaneously participate in both. We'll go a little deeper into what that means in full context. Next slide. So we have two different program paths that are designed for different uses. First on the left, the Express program. This is a streamlined program that is designed specifically for smaller businesses and smaller training needs. These are grants up to $15,000 per organization per year and up to $3,000 per employee per course. Again, limited to 100 or fewer organizations with 100 or fewer employees in Massachusetts. Organizations can apply at any time, and they will receive approval within 21 days on a first come, first served basis. This isn't a competitive process, it's an automatic approval for eligible organizations because organizations are going to complete a short application to determine that the organization is eligible, and then they're going to choose courses from a directory of over 4,000 pre-registered courses and submit that with the application. They'll get approval within 21 days via DocuSign if they are eligible. You'll sign the DocuSign, send your people off to training, or have the trainers come in, whatever the arrangements are. You'll pay for training and then submit a voucher for reimbursement for up to 100% of the total cost of training within those limits of 15,000 per year and 3,000 per person per course. And all this training has to happen on company time. Last year, we awarded more than $14 million to over 1,400 different employers to train almost 14,000 different workers throughout through the grants that were awarded last year. Now, the general program is a different animal. This is a more elaborate option that can go up to $200,000 for 2-year customized training grants. These are available to any size employer in Massachusetts or a consortium of employers that have partnered to work together. Applicants can source training vendors and design custom training plans. The training that we fund through the general program has to supplement but not replace private investment in training. We're making sure that we're adding a new capability rather than paying for your existing capabilities. These are matching grants. Companies must match dollar for dollar, but we count in-kind contributions. Most of the training that we fund on the general program is group training, and typically the company will be covering the cost of that group's time. That will often outpace the cost of the training vendor for that hour. So usually just by covering their employees' time, which is required, applicants are able to meet the entire match requirement and then some. These grants are awarded competitively. Companies can apply at any time, and a decision will be reached within 60 days. We do have a 1-year waiting period in place between general program grants. Last year, we awarded $9.5 million to 135 different employers to train over 7,000 different individuals. Next slide. We'll take a little bit deeper look at those in a moment, but I wanted to stop and take a moment to emphasize a key priority of the Workforce Training Fund, which is ESOL, English, Workplace English. This is a priority that takes place over everything else. This is the most important work that we do. It's the most transformative training that we fund. And we encourage every company to think about the English proficiency of their workforce and how it would contribute to their work. ESOL can be covered through the Express program, through the General program. And it's the one topic that can continue during that waiting period by way of a bridge grant. We have a bridge grant that is available to those that have a general program grant with ESOL. When they finish their grant, they're able to continue workplace ESOL for that waiting period if they'd like. Next slide. Why don't we go to the next slide? I want to just emphasize the process for Express and how simple and easy it is. I defy anybody to find a faster grant program out there. We're flexible. We've got thousands of options from hundreds of providers and are focused on being very accessible to small businesses. Companies will go into the directory, they'll pick a course, they'll gather the certificates they need for their application. They'll submit the application form. They'll get approval within 21 days and accept it via e-signature. They'll conduct training and then submit for reimbursement, which is usually within 30 days. So I encourage everybody to take a look and learn more about Express and spend some time in the directory. And next slide. The general program, again, these are competitive grants, also awarded year-round. And you'll see here, and these are in the guidelines on our website. Don't have a ton of time to spend on them today. But these are some of the criteria that companies can appeal to. No one needs to appeal to all these. It's virtually impossible to hit them all at one time. But the more you're able to appeal to, the better. Things like whether there'll be additional skills for low-wage workers, whether new jobs will be created, whether this will make a company more productive and competitive. Also, things that like relocating a business to Massachusetts can be reasoning for a grant. And we're always looking to support small businesses. Next slide. This is a graphic that we're going to send out to everybody after the presentation. And this gives you a little bit of a sense of how to approach the general program application process. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this in the kind of short introductory session that we're doing today, but I encourage you to take a look if you're interested in general program grants. You're going to identify what your priorities are within your organization. You're going to determine some success metrics and source your vendors. You're going to prepare the documents that you need for the application. And then you're going to fill out an application form that includes things like making a case for those criteria that were laid out and helping us understand the impact this will have on your organization and your workforce. Now you'll submit it and you'll get a response within 60 days. Next slide. Why don't we go to the next slide? If a grant is approved, we recommend 90 days or more from the time that you submit the application to when you would expect training to begin. Once it's approved, you'll have a 1 hour grant orientation meeting with somebody on our staff, and we'll get a DocuSign agreement in place once you agree on the right start date. And then funds are advanced to grantees in most cases. There's some exceptions to that. But the first 25% is advanced up front, and then that's going to be spent down and reported, and then there's the next 25 advanced. Similarly, for the third, the final payment is a reimbursement at the end of the grant when all the final training is done and reports are submitted. Next slide. Really want to emphasize one thing. Um, there's a lot that you can do under the Workforce Training Fund, a few things that you need to avoid. I like to say no the no's here. Uh, no internal trainers or self-dealing. You can't use grant funds to pay employees to deliver training or family members of employees, of course. Uh, we do not fund consulting. We're looking for a distinction there around teaching how to do rather than doing for somebody. It shouldn't really be producing sellable work product, but focusing on education of workers. We don't fund mandated training. If there's training that you're legally required to have to operate the way you're operating, we won't pay for it. A clear example of that is OSHA 10 in construction. It's not legal for somebody to work on site in a construction firm if they haven't done OSHA 10. That's the company's requirement if they hire somebody without that to provide that training. And we don't focus on self-directed training, online, asynchronized only. That tends to be quite accessible, and we're focusing on more in-depth instructor-led training and the kind of quality assurance that comes with that. Some self-directed along with that can be okay, but we're focusing on live instructor-led training, remote or on-site rather. Also, the general program, we do not fund training that we covered in a recent grant. We won't cover the same topic twice. Once we cover it, you're expected to maintain those capabilities. Next slide. Really quickly, I know I'm going a little bit long already, but I just want to take a quick moment to introduce a couple of cases here. An example from the Express program. It's a great, real simple, small example. Gary Ben David Builders on Martha's Vineyard. They have 6 employees and they're home builders. And one of the things that is becoming increasingly important to them are home energy rating systems assessments. And apparently, there are only 2 certified individuals on Martha's Vineyard that can do that. So it made outsourcing that function costly and time-consuming, difficult to schedule. With a simple $2,700 express grant, they sent an employee through a hybrid HERS rater training. That employee was able to receive their certification, and as a result, the company had additional capabilities. That employee had a valuable skill, and they no longer had to rely on outside consultants, letting them reduce costs and improve efficiency. On the right, you'll see AIS in Leominster. They manufacture high quality and affordable office furniture. They have over 600 employees, and they received a grant of a little under 100,000 to train 50 plus workers in supervisory and leadership skills. They've been going through some rapid growth. They've been promoting a lot of people from technical roles into leadership roles, and that includes people without prior experience in supervisor or leading people. And just to add to the complication level, they are operating in a workforce that a large portion of it is primarily Spanish speaking, a large portion is primarily English speaking. AIS worked closely with the training firm to customize a training plan that provided supervisory and leadership skills training in both English and in Spanish. And the training was tailored for their needs, and they were also given that curriculum to use, those materials to use in the future to support new employees coming online. They were able to add 90 new employees during the grant and trained what a good 20 more individuals and planned. Their employees are motivated and happy. Their turnover has gone down, and it's helped with recruiting as well. That's everything I wanted to cover in this introduction, and I thank everyone for their time. I'm going to hand off to Rachel now, who will continue from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. That was a great overview. As Rob said, my name is Rachel Gillis. I'm the Senior Marketing and Grant Coordinator at AIMHR Solutions. For you, those of you who don't know, AIMHR Solutions is your one-stop shop for all your HR and training needs. So now that Rob's kind of walked through how the program works, the big question now is, what options do you have for training? So at AIMHR Solutions, we have an extensive and interactive training catalog. And so from the visual you can see on the screen, you can find the catalog on the website by visiting aimhrsolutions.com. And then if you hover over resources and click on training catalog, it'll bring you to that landing page. You can click download. We also have our pricing sheet and grant codes on that landing page as well. And as a mid-presentation reminder, these slides and the recording will be sent out afterwards, so you'll have a link directly to the catalog and everything that Rob talked about as well. Um, so our catalog has over 70 classes that are all grant eligible. One thing I do like to highlight is that we don't just focus on HR and compliance training. We also offer harassment and discrimination training, different levels of supervisor and leadership development, communication, customer service, and a variety of other professional development trainings as well. So there's really a lot of options for every level of your organization. We also offer flexibility in how the training is delivered. So we have public training, which is where your employees can join other employees from different companies on set date and times in a virtual format. Or we also have private training. This is just for your team, and you can schedule it at a date and time that works best for you. And it's either delivered on site at your location, or we can run that virtually as well. And as Rob said too, on the Commonwealth Corporation's website, there's a directory that has a variety of different training providers as well. So how can we help? So I'm here to hold your hand through the entire process, start to finish, whether that's the Express grant or the General grant. And this is kind of a broad overview for the two of them, and Rob went over the details for each, but as a high level, step one would be choosing your training. So starting with our training catalog, after you review it, if you're still feeling overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, or you're unsure how best to allocate your funds, we're here to help. So we can help you understand what your pain points are, understand what your team needs are, and then recommend the right programs. Many of the organizations we do work with focus their funding on building stronger supervisors and managers. So with that being said, we have a lot of various supervisor trainings, so we'll help determine which one would be the most impactful for your team. Step two is gathering the required materials for your application, and that varies whether you're doing the Express grant or the General grant, but either way, we'll be there to guide you in this step by giving you the resources you need to locate them, how and why they're used in the application, or being the liaison to Rob and his team if you need support that, I'm not able to provide to you. And then step three is applying. So I would be available to submit your application with you over a call. I ask that you share your screen and we walk through the application together. And usually if it's the General grant, it's a couple different calls to kind of walk through that. But if it's the Express grant, we can do it in one sitting. And then step four is getting reimbursed. So most important part, right? You want your money back. So after paying for and completing your training, you can request your reimbursement, and it requires a few materials. And once it's submitted, you receive reimbursement within 30 to 45 days. And again, I'm here for that support through that process as well. And these slides will be shared so you can access me by emailing myself, and my email is on the right side of the screen. And then similar to Rob, I think it's helpful to have the real world examples. It puts it into perspective on how different types of industries, company sizes, structures are able to take advantage of these grants. So recently I worked with a large international manufacturing company that also happens to have a facility here in Massachusetts. And they submitted an express grant with me. So they came to us with a common challenge that we hear a lot is that I have multiple teams, I have multiple training needs, not sure how to maximize and prioritize my funding within the organization. So I worked with them to build a pretty extensive training plan that addressed their biggest pain points. We went back and forth in a few meetings. I listened to their needs. We determined what training format made sense, if we needed to be in person, if virtual made sense, and then who on their team would be in attendance for those trainings. So after that conversations that we had, they ended up securing over $13,000 in fully reimbursed training funds. So from it, they were able to schedule 7 private sessions, so just for their employees. And this allowed them to train different teams across the whole organization on topics like communication, leadership, workplace conflict, performance management, and a few others. So it really was a big win internally for them. The woman that I worked with had brought in high impact training at really no cost to their business, which gave her a lot of great visibility. And then at the same time, it's great because, we're at a time in the world that every dollar is being scrutinized. So it was a great opportunity for her organization. The second example is a wellness company I supported through the Express Grant. So, on a much smaller scale, they were a small yoga studio with under 30 employees, most of them being part-time, and then they had little to no internal HR support. So, after a call with me, we were able to identify the key needs that they had for their company, which was building a structure, staying compliant with Massachusetts laws, and then better protecting their business and their employees. So, we recommended a mix of training, which included our small business HR strategies course and state-specific compliance courses. So overall, they ended up securing $6,000 in fully reimbursed funding. So for a small business, the process was really simple, really smooth. And now they're enrolled in training that's going to strengthen their HR department as well as their future growth as a small business. And then some of the top questions that I hear, and I'm sure Rob and his team hears a lot too, is, one, what do I need to apply? And this is a baseline for the Express grant, and then general grant baseline for that. It requires a little bit more, but at minimum, these are the things that you'll need. So, certificate of compliance, which is from the Department of Unemployment Assistance, certificate of good standings from the Department of Revenue, assigned W-9 within the last year, and then knowing the number of W-2 employees you have, plus how many worldwide you have as well. And then your training selection. So before applying, you do need to know which trainings you're going to be including on your application, and then the number of employees planning to attend, and when that training is tentative to start and end. And then question 2, do I get funding upfront? That's a big one. No. So it is a reimbursement program. So you'll pay for your training. After the training is completed, then you'll submit your reimbursement request to Commonwealth Corporation. And then question 3, where do I start with training? So like I said, we have our training catalog. Commonwealth Corporation has their directory. As I mentioned, the catalog has 70 plus sessions. And if you've looked at it and you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, as I mentioned, I work with people and we can determine what that looks like, whether it's public sessions, you have one person that's interested, or you have, 30 employees you want to have harassment discrimination training for. We can do that privately. Do we want to run it in person? Do we want to run it virtually? So we can have all of those conversations. And as I mentioned, of course, the directory has other options as well. And then that really wraps up our presentation. So I'm going to pass it back to Kyle too, who's our moderator for the Q&A portion, but feel free to ask anything and we can walk through how this might help your organization.
Great. Thanks, Rob and Rachel. That's lots of good information and certainly good news for employers. There's still a lot of good training dollars available. So, Rob, I do have a couple of questions, I think, for you. First one is for the general grant. Do I have to be listed as a training provider to be approved for a company to use my services for a general grant?
No, the general program grants doesn't require any pre-registration or anything for training providers. There's some basic information that's going to be provided about qualifications and contact information, but it's on the employer to find providers that meet their needs. The Express Directory is a great tool if you're looking to track somebody down. You can see some different subject matter expertise and that sort of thing. Often those trainers will also work in the general program, but no requirement in advance.
Perfect. Another general grant question is with the expanded funds that are available, if somebody already has a general grant that's been approved, are they able now to get additional funds, or do they have to, update their application or do something else to access that additional money?
We can't retroactively change any grants that are underway already. If a company applied very recently and hasn't begun training yet in either program in a grant that was approved, and they wanted to postpone all their activity, they could resubmit. They'll just need to follow whatever timeline applies for new grants. Um, so it's a possibility of something's brand new, but all the new approvals have been made aware of that. So it wouldn't be the case. It could be relevant to the Express program, though. If somebody very recently got a grant and they haven't started training yet, and it's worth it to them to resubmit and wait 21 days, go for it.
Great. And a couple of quick questions regarding different topics for training. So, can either the general grant or the express grant be used for OSHA training in a construction environment?
Generally not. Safety training in general, we tend to try to steer clear of, in that that's something that companies should be investing in continually and shouldn't be depending on public resources for safety training. We encourage you to, maintain that level of preparedness necessary to keep your workforce safe regardless. We do in different grants have subject matter related to safety, cybersecurity or planning, in terms of things like safety in the design of schools, that sort of thing. So we're not allergic to the word safety. We're just not providing mandated worker safety training.
Perfect. How about, can the general grant be used for courses through Harvard Business School programs?
Uh, it can and it has. Now we have some cost limitations, so it depends. There's a cap of $300 per hour for group instruction, and if somebody finds training that exceeds that $300 per hour limit that's valuable to that company, they're welcome to propose it. Our limits would be paying the 300. The gap between the 300 and whatever the ultimate cost is would be the responsibility of the company in that case, and it would be attributed to their match. So I like to say these are public dollars, and public dollars pay for Chevys, not Cadillacs. If you need a Cadillac, we'll give you the Chevy money. You can make up the difference.
Perfect. And how about the training providers themselves? Do they have to be Massachusetts based, or can they be out of state?
Nope. It's only for grant recipients that they have to be working in state.
Perfect. All right. And just to confirm, with the new changes in the grants, that now you could have an express grant and a general grant open at the same time.
Correct.
All right. Excellent. Let's see, a couple of new ones just came in. Can you talk a little bit more about the ESOL Bridge Grant?
Yes. If you're in this audience, you're not somebody that has a general program grant currently, it's not immediately available to you. It is a grant that can come at the end of a general program grant. So if a company applies for a general program grant, maybe they're doing lean process improvement and workplace ESOL. At the end of that 2-year grant, if they'd like to, they can receive a bridge grant to continue the ESOL training for 1 year following, so that that learning can continue during that 1 year waiting period. Again, ESOL is a priority of the fund, and uh, um, ensuring continual practice of language training is critical to language proficiency gains. So we feel it's worth having an additional option. So if you would like to do ESOL training and you don't have a grant already, you can start in Express or you can start in the general program. And if the bridge grant becomes relevant to you, we'll make you familiar uh, and give you all the information you need.
Excellent. Let's see. We had a question about submitting the receipt or for reimbursement. It says on your website 30 days. Can you just clarify if those 30 days are business days or if it's 30 calendar days that you must submit that information to be reimbursed?
Is it referring to 30 days after you submit the voucher for reimbursement, payment should be expected?
No, I believe it's submitting the paid invoice to record that you're submitting the paid invoice within 30 days after completion of the training. I believe that's what the question's asking.
Um,
After training, do you have to apply for reimbursement? Is the question.
yes, okay, I follow. So that's a reference to 30 calendar days. But you won't be denied reimbursement if it takes longer than that. But yeah, that's 30 calendar days is our guideline for when we'd like you to submit the voucher after training. Submit it sooner, we'll pay sooner.
Great. And another question about courses that might be covered. Are training caregivers to become HHA or PCAs, home health assistants, I believe, private care assistants, is training for those types of classes covered?
Yes, it can be. Understand all the training that we do is on the clock. It's on company time, and I know that that can be challenging for any business model like that that's very tied to billing for employees' time. Recognize those challenges, but it can be a great resource where there is that possibility to take employees that you have that are showing dependability and aptitude and help them get their next level of certification to help fill a shortage that you're experiencing. I know it's um, a lot of staffing challenges in that realm these days.
Great. And Rachel, a question for you on the application side. How long does it typically take somebody to complete the Express Grant application?
When I work with you, it's usually 20 to 25 minutes. So it's a pretty quick and easy application.
Excellent. Good. And Rob, one more question for you is, are you able to apply for a grant for the same topic that you received a grant previously, as long as you're enrolling different employees in that class?
Generally not. We're generally looking for the company to gain the capability and to be able to maintain that and upskill those that are coming on board. Willing to discuss any specifics if there are any more complicated cases, but it's kind of a one bite at the apple scenario on the subject matter.
Okay. Rachel, another one for you. I've noticed in the AIM-HR Solutions catalog that you offer harassment training. Is this a course that is eligible for the Express Grant?
Yes, it is. Yep. And we have it in a public setting, so you can have, individuals that, onesie, twosie employees join, or we can run it privately for your company.
Great. And Rob, I'm going to ask you one more. And this is on calculating the number of employees that you have. So are you approving companies based on the number of employees in Massachusetts, even if they have global sites with more employees?
That's right. The eligibility for the Express program, for instance, is 100 or fewer employees. That's referring to employees working in Massachusetts. They don't have to live in Massachusetts, technically. They need to be working in Massachusetts, and therefore that's who the payroll taxes are being paid to.
Great.
It
In all of the
connects to
classes,
payroll tax.
yeah, great. In all of the classes that we are talking about, these are all live instructor-led classes that are eligible, right? So they can't be a pre-recorded or self-study type of program.
That's right. We have some courses in Express, for instance, that are primarily instructor-led with some side work that's self-directed, but it's only acceptable as a smaller portion, not the main content.
Perfect. And I'm just going to check and see if we have any other questions that have come in. In the meantime, Rachel, do you have a slide that includes your contact information or Rob's contact information that we can share?
I do, yes.
Okay, why don't we have that up? And I'm going to give you How about just a couple more quick topics, which are CPR and first aid certifications. Um, how are those allowable under any of the grants?
Uh, where they're relevant to a workplace skill.
Oh,
Um, Probably not for my job, but for the right career path, certainly.
so if you work in a medical setting and they're required for that job, would they still be covered?
Um, uh, Not if there's a legal mandate, and I'd have to understand the circumstances more and look into the um, requirements and that sort of thing to really understand completely in detail. And I encourage you to reach out to our team at any time if you have any unique case that we can unpack for you.
Perfect. And how about AI training, such as that fall under ISO certifications or cybersecurity? Would those be covered?
Um, we are funding a lot of AI training and expect to fund more and more in the years ahead. Big part of our role here is to help the workforce of the Commonwealth through learning curves when there are disruptive technologies landing, and this is certainly a case. We do a lot of training related to ISO or other quality standards and cybersecurity as well.
Great. And just before we wrap up, Rob, I don't know if you want to, if there's any kind of disclaimer to use that, the funds are available while they're available and that this could change. I don't know if you want to say something else about, what that might look like.
That's right. We're able to award about 25 million a year. We're not expecting to exhaust those funds before the end of our fiscal year, which is June 30th, so we can continue grant making without a disruption, is what we're anticipating. I can't ever promise anything because who knows if we get 300 applications asking for the maximum tomorrow, we may run out of funding sooner. But the patterns that we're seeing, we expect to go continually. It's a great time to apply. We're trying to award more than 2 million a month. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the headlines, and we encourage people to don't wait for the perfect circumstance. Think about training all the time. And even if you're not totally understanding your long-term strategy at the moment, get started in Express and work on the uh, strategic approach for the general program later. Excuse me.
Excellent. And just as we wrap up, there's some questions I know we weren't able to get to. We'll go through those and see if we can get information back out to you. But I want everyone to leave with the understanding that, I think this is such great news. This is, showing that the state is committed to getting training into the hands of people in your organizations. And there's great money available for you to think about really how you want to upskill your workforce. So while we see so many, increased costs in other areas of doing business, this is a way to add real value to your organization and apply for these grants to help out your employees. So we really thank you, Rob, again for partnering with us and sharing the news today. And again, you have Rachel's contact information if you're interested in applying for an express grant for any of our AMHR training classes. We welcome you to apply, reach out, let us help you streamline that process. Same thing for the general grant. And let us know any other ways that we can support you. And for anybody else who's on the call today, who's an HR person, I wanted to let you know that we are having some upcoming HR roundtables that will be in person. These are free events for AIM members. You can find the links on our website, but we hope to see you in person and to help answer any other HR questions that you have at that time. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks to our friends at AIM for helping us spread the word.